Hey everyone, welcome back to the Grace and Bacon YouTube channel. I'm Jessica, and today we're diving into the Sander Crossbody by KiteCo Creates. Before we jump in, I would like to say thank you to Jill for allowing the Marathon Society to use a pattern on our channels. Make sure to hit that thumbs up, click the share button, and of course subscribe to stay in the loop, not only with the Marathon Society, but also for the individual channels of these talented creators. So what we have here is we've got a slip pocket in the front, a very unique design. Just the back, there's nothing going on here, but it looks really pretty. And then when you open the bag, you have a slip pocket. You have a huge opening in here. I know you can't see it. Let me see it, there we go. And then you've got down at the bottom, mine are way down there, but they're credit card slots. Sorry, I don't know if you can see that, it's kind of dark. But yeah, it's a very nice size. This is the Sander crossbody that I made. I made the medium size, and it's perfect. It turned out really great. I'm so excited to use this, or maybe I'll sell it. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. But anyways, thank you so much for joining the Marathon Society. Make sure you check out everyone else today. All right, so without further ado, let's start making the Sander crossbody bag. Let's go ahead and go over our pattern pieces. I will be doing the Sander crossbody. This bag has two options and also two sizes. So you could do a crossbody or you could do a sling, which I'm gonna be doing the crossbody bag. And I'll be doing the medium size. You could choose an option between medium or you could do small, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the medium size. So you're gonna need a strap. You could make your own strap if you want, but I'm gonna go ahead and use webbing because it's fun and it's easy. And I do sometimes like my strap to be a little bit thinner. So this is 1/2 inch webbing that I'm using. I will put rivets in here. I just have clips holding them in place. And so I've got a 1/2 inch adjuster, slider adjuster, and then 1/2 inch swivel hooks for this. I've got the D-ring. These are 1 inch D-ring tabs I'll be using. And then my zipper, and then my zipper pull, and then your zipper. I've got 2 pieces for the body right here. This is it's kind of thick vinyl that I'll be using. So I did not interface this. I don't really mind my bag being a little slouchy. If this were to be a little bit thinner, I would interface this, but I'm not worried about it. And then I've got my bag tags. These are from the Heartwood and Hide. Again, I know I talk about them in every video, but really they're amazing, so check them out. There's probably a waiting list though if you want tags to be created for your logo. So go ahead and get on that list. And then you're going to need 2 pieces for the top. Again, I'm using that vinyl. This is from moremeknow.com. I've got 2 pieces for my front pocket. This is going to be the exterior. And then I've got hot pink Theratex from Fabric Therapy. This does not need interfacing. It has a lot of structure already, which is another reason why I'm not going to interface my pieces, is because this is also going to give the bag a lot of structure. I will be doing the slip pocket, but I'm not going to be doing the top piece, the little, I forget what it's called. I will not be doing the pocket trim on this. And then I'll also be doing the credit card pocket. I will not be doing the pocket trim on that either. Again, this is waterproof canvas. It is a very sturdy material. This is also from Fabric Therapy. I just don't really think that I need to add the interfacing to this since it already has structure. I'm going to be using webbing. This is 1 inch webbing. For my D-ring tabs. And then I've got 2 pieces for my lining. Again, this is Theratex it already has a ton of structure, so I don't think there's any reason to add any interfacing on there, which I don't think interfacing works on here anyways, unless you plan on gluing it. And then I'm going to be using these tags that I also got from Marathon, not Marathon, I got them from the Heartwood and Hide. And I think that is it for the crossbody. So there's not a lot of things that you need to make this bag. I would even say it's pretty scrappy. It's not much material. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get into it. I forgot to mention that I will not be doing the flap on this one, and I will also not be adding a magnetic snap to my front pocket. I'm just going to leave it open so I can slide my phone in and out of here. The first thing we're going to work on is our front pocket, which is pattern piece C. So you'll need to have your lining piece and your exterior. I am going to grab some clips. And this is also where in the pattern it says you can put your bag tag on the front of your exterior if you'd like. I am not going to put it on my pocket just because I don't want to take away from this print. So I went ahead and attached my tag onto my exterior for the back. So that has been done. So what we're going to do is we're going to place these right sides together and go ahead and clip all around. Their text is kind of, it's really smooth and can be a little slippery, so this is kind of sliding around a little bit. After we sew this together, we will be turning this through right side out. At the bottom, we're going to leave an opening because we're going to turn this right side out. You probably want to leave quite a bit of a gap at the bottom. I'd say I'm probably leaving about 4 inches maybe open down at the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew this top straight edge right here on the side. Let me see if we can get that better. We're going to sew this very top edge together, and then we're going to sew down the side and then to here, and make sure you remember to leave that opening. Make sure you also back stitch really well here, and then we're going to start back over here and come down to the corner and back up. And we are not going to sew these top edges across. Leave those open. And let's see, I think that'll be, we're going to sew that down at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So go ahead and let's get that sewn together. Okay, so we've got our front pocket sewn right side together. Before we turn this out, you want to grab some scissors and go ahead and clip the bottom corner. Don't get too close to the stitching. You don't want to cut the stitches you just created. And then up here, we're going to cut right at the corner right here. I don't know if you see that, but right where you see this is a straight edge right here on both sides. We've got a straight edge and then this curve. So we're going to take the scissors and snip right in to this little corner, I guess you'd call it. Don't get too close to the stitches. All right, so let's go ahead and turn this right sides out. I think I will go ahead and grab my turning tool. So I've got my turning tool. These are really handle. You guys, I can't speak English. Okay. So I've got, oh my God. This is really handy for things like this, getting in a small corner. Just be really careful because the smaller part here, I don't know if you can see that, but it can poke a hole into your material, and you do not want to do that. So just be careful. Okay, I'm just kind of rolling and finger pressing my seams here. You can go to your iron if you're using something that you can iron to get that nice and crisp. And then I'm going to go ahead and just get this bottom in so we can close that bottom. You try not to let the other side show through if you can. If not, it will be fine. It'll still look good. It'll kind of look like piping. If you want to know how to do piping, follow along on So Country. Her name is Beth, and she's awesome, and she will help you do piping if you want to know how to do that. I'm just going to clip this down together. Then at the bottom, my corners look pretty good. So we've got our pocket here. That looks pretty good. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch at this top curve and these straight edges only, just for now. So go ahead and do that. We're going to do that at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so we've got our pocket top stitch at the top. So go ahead and grab an exterior piece, whatever pattern piece for the exterior that you'd want to use. Since I have my other one with the back tag on there, I will not be using that. That'll be my back. So you want to go ahead and mark the center of your main exterior piece, and also mark the center of your pocket piece, because we're going to line this up right at the center. I'm going to use a marking tool. This is a chalk, so that this will come right off. And I'm also going to grab a ruler real quick and just kind of mark the center with a chalk pencil, just a very thin line. I can see this line, you probably cannot see it. It's very, very light, but I want to make sure that I have this centered. So I've got my mark on my pocket, and then I see my center line. I'm going to just bring up those raw edges of the pocket to meet the raw edge of our pattern, the main pattern piece, and line up the center, and then clip it together when you've got it centered. I'm just going to put a clip right at that top edge. Here we go. Okay, so I went ahead and grabbed some Camera tape. I'm just going to tape this down in a couple places just to make sure this doesn't move, only because I can't really reach this with clips. I could fold this and clip it, but I don't want to do that to the vinyl. So I'm just going to use the tape. So now what we're going to do is go to the machine, and we're going to top stitch down the right side and come all the way down. Leave your needle down at the corner and pivot and turn and top stitch at the bottom. And then we're going to come to the corner, leave your needle down and pivot again, and come up to the top, and make sure that you are back stitching from the beginning and at the end. So that's what that looks like. It looks pretty good. Look at that. All right, so what are we doing next? You're gonna go ahead and grab one of your tops, which is pattern piece B. Now, your top piece has a slight curve, okay? Slight curve, which you want to make sure that's at the top. So whenever you're placing this pattern piece right sides together, you need to make sure that you have your straight edges together. So don't clip it wrong with the curved edge at the top edge here of your main panel. You want to make sure to have that straight edge meet the straight edge of your main panel. And then go ahead and clip that together. Okay, so we will take this to the machine and we're going to sew this together using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So now we have our main pattern piece and also the top piece, pattern B. We are going to flip this up now. And we want to have the seam laying towards the top. So your top piece should be laying right on top of your seam. And we are going to top stitch this at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance right along this edge here. Okay, so finger press. You can use your iron if you'd like to, but I'm just finger pressing and I will hold this down as I sew at the machine. So 1/8 of an inch on this top edge along the seam. So don't sew where the pocket is, it'll be right here on this top piece, okay? 1/8 of an inch. So now we've got our exterior front panel completed. If you were doing the flap and also the magnetic snap, you'd make sure to follow the directions because obviously I didn't do that part. So we're gonna go ahead and set this to the side now. And now we're gonna go ahead and start working on the D-ring tabs. If you are using fabric, you'll wanna make sure to refer to your instructions. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my the back main body piece, which is A. And we are going to, since I'm using webbing, I'm gonna grab my webbing. And also I'm gonna go ahead and grab my D-rings. You could use triangle rings here if you like, or rectangle rings, whatever you'd like to use. And then you're gonna need a ruler and your marking tool. Okay, so we're gonna make a mark at the top left and top right edges. It will be 1 1/4 inches away from the side. And you're going to make a mark. This is where we're going to place our D-ring tabs. And again, I'm just using chalk because I can just wipe it right off. I'm gonna take my D-rings and I'm gonna take my webbing and I'm gonna thread the D-ring through my webbing here. I'm going to place them together. I'm gonna clip the edges here. If you're using webbing like me, you'll wanna make sure that you singe those edges so that they don't come undone later. And what we're gonna do is we're going to place this right against that mark that we made, so on the inside of that mark. Okay, and you wanna have this, your webbing be about 5/8 of an inch hanging off. So let's check here. So more than that, about right here, okay? You wanna make sure that you have your D-ring down. You don't wanna have this the other direction, okay? You don't want it like this. That wouldn't be good. So make sure you have this down and line it up with that top mark that you made, 5/8 of an inch. And I'm gonna go ahead and clip this down because we're gonna go and baste your D-ring tabs down. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the other. There we go, clip this down. So now we're gonna go to the machine and we're going to just baste this in place, okay? Okay, so now we've got our D-ring tabs basted in place and you've got your D-rings facing down towards the bottom. So you'll go ahead and grab your other exterior top piece. And we are going to lay this right sides down. Again, make sure you have that straight edge lined up with the straight edge. You don't want that slight curve to be lined up with this edge of your main panel. So go ahead and clip those together. All right, we're going to go to the machine and we're going to sew this down using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Make sure those D-rings are down and out of the way. We don't want to hit those. That could be bad. All right, let's go. Okay, so we've got our top piece sewn onto our main back panel. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to take our seam and we're going to fold it underneath the back panel, okay? So it should be like this, that seam, and then your D-ring tabs should be facing down now, okay? So your D-rings should be up, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and just finger press, and like I said before, if there's something you're using, if you're using something that can be ironed, you can go and do that if you'd like. We're going to go ahead and top stitch this down at an 1/8 inch seam allowance right along the seam here. You can place rivets here for added security so that nothing happens, or if you'd like to sew a box, you can do that as well. I will add rivets to mine probably, yeah. I will add rivets to mine as well. I think that'll look nice. So go ahead and go to the machine and top stitch this right here on the seam at a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I've got the back panel complete. I added the rivets, which if you can see that I added the wrong color rivets. I'm using black hardware, and then I used gunmetal. I meant to get the black ones, but you know what, that's fine. It still looks pretty good. I don't think anyone's gonna really notice. So now we've got our top, not our top, but our main exterior pieces done. So what we're gonna do is set this to the side. We're gonna start working on our lining stuff here. So like I said, I'll be doing the credit card pocket and I'll be doing the slip pocket, but I will not be adding the, I keep forgetting what the piece is called, the pocket trim for the top. I won't be doing that. So if you're doing the pocket trim, you want to make sure to check the instructions on how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my body lining pieces, and also I'm going to be placing this Marathon Society bag tag on my lining piece. So I will have that. I'm going to take one of my lining pieces and put the other to the side, and I'm going to start working on, it doesn't matter which one, but I'll start working on the slip pocket, which is F2 pattern piece. These labels are like my favorite thing in a pattern. If these are in a pattern, it is a huge bonus for me. I love it. The instructions for slip pocket is a little different just because, well, if you're adding that pocket trim, it will be a little different for you to do. But since I'm not, what I'm going to do is I'm just folding this in half, right sides together, so your wrong side should be out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just place a clip on each side of my raw edges, because what we're going to do is we want to make sure to leave that open because we're going to turn it through. So I'm going to grab some more clips and place them along this side. And what we're going to do here is we're going to sew along the right side and come down to the corner, and we're going to leave the needle down and pivot and come down. I'm going to come in just about 1.5 inches probably. I'm going to go ahead and make a little mark. I can see this chalk pencil mark here, and then what we're going to do is leave this space opening here, and then I'll go ahead and make a mark as well here. Make sure to back stitch really well here, and then we're going to start stitching here and come to the corner, leave your needle down and pivot and turn up, and make sure to back stitch up here at the top. And then what we're going to do is come back and we're going to turn this right side out, and then we're going to top stitch along this fold here and then place it on our lining. So let's go ahead and sew that down. Okay, so I've got that stitched together. I'm going to go ahead and grab some shears and just trim off the corners over here. And I'm also going to do a slight corner just right at the top of that folded edge, just a little bit. And then what we're going to do now is turn this right sides out. Okay, so I've got this nice and crisp, and what I'm going to do is fold in those edges that we left open so that they will come together, and then we will close those up. So I'm going to use clips to hold that edge together, and you want to make sure that you have, because it was folded over, you want to make sure that you have the right side going down, otherwise it will be upside down. So we'll place this down like so, just making sure you pay attention to your fabric. Well, I've got this the wrong way. So in the pattern it says to center this. So I've already got my center at the top of my lining, so make sure that you mark your center if you haven't already. And I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half and mark my center with the chalk pencil. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier with my ruler. You're going to make a mark that is about 1 3/8 down from the top. Okay, so I'm going to made like a plus sign, because I don't know why I did it the way that I did it. I drew a line, but that doesn't help you with the center. So I made another line so it looks like a plus sign so that I know where the center is. Don't do what I just did. So go ahead and match up those centers right there. Oh, again, this is really, really slippery. So I'm going to line that up right there. I guess it is helpful actually to have that line because you know it's straight. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some Camberbell tape once again and just tape down my sides. That looks good. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and sew down the right side and come down all the way down to the bottom corner, and you're going to leave your needle down and pivot and come all the way down to close up that opening, and come to this next corner and leave your needle down and pivot and come up. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and the end. All right, so we have sewn down our slip pocket onto the lining. It looks really good. I love the hot pink with this fabric. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and grab your other lining and set this one to the side. If you're doing the credit card slot, credit card pocket, which is F1, I went ahead and put my label for the Marathon Society on my lining. And what I did was I put it in the center where we would have placed our credit card slot. But I want my credit card pocket to be kind of down a little bit more. So I put that there, and then we will create this, and you don't have to do this, you can follow the pattern, but I just wanted to go ahead and put this on here and have it showing in the bag. So what we're going to do is the same thing that I did with the other. So we're going to fold this in half to where it's right sides together, and then we're going to clip it together. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with the card slot, not the card slot, the slip pocket. We're going to leave an opening to turn it through. So I'm going to sew down the side, and then over here about 1.5 inches or so, I want to leave a nice gap to pull this through, and then I'll come back and sew down on the bottom here, and then we'll pivot and then go up the side, and that's going to be at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so we've got that sewn down, 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then with our opening here, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing we did with the other one and just clip those corners. Just be real careful not to clip those stitches. That would not be fun to have to go back and fix later. All right, I'm also going to clip the corner here. Okay, let's go ahead and turn this right side's out. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and clip the bottom where that opening is. And we'll close it up just like we did with the other slip pocket when we sew it down to the lining. So now I'm going to fold this in half. And I want to make a crease here for the center so we can stitch our line for the credit card here. And I'm going to place my ruler right where that line, where that crease is, so I can stitch. And you probably can't see my line that I've made here, but I can see that. So I will go ahead and place this on the lining. So again, I'm not putting it on here as what the pattern explains to do. So I'm going to actually come down a couple inches from my my label here, and I've already got the center mark here. You know what I didn't do on the other one is I didn't top stitch. I need to top stitch this. Yes, top stitch that if you would like to. It actually doesn't look too bad without it being top stitched, but it's probably best to top stitch that. So before I lay this down, I'm going to go back and top stitch this real quick, and then I'll come back and place this on where I had it before, and go ahead and sew down this right edge and come down to the corner, and you'll leave your needle down and pivot and come down. And once you get to that center line, you want to put your needle down and then go up that line, and make sure that you back stitch a couple of times and then go back down, and then you're going to go down the bottom again to that corner and pivot. Leave your needle down and pivot, and then go back up. Make sure you're back stitching at the beginning and the end. Okay, so I've got that sewn on, and you want to make sure that a card fits into your credit card slots here. They should fit kind of snug, and fits perfectly. That looks pretty good. All right, so here's our lining pieces. They are complete. I think now we're going to be moving on with the zipper installation. So you want to grab your zipper here. Make sure that you singe the edges of your zipper if you're using nylon, because it will fray. And then you want to grab your zipper pull. You want to go ahead and install that zipper pull if you haven't done so already. So go ahead and flip. You want to pinch or pull this down at a 90-degree angle. Okay, trying to show you how to do this. It would be like this. So what I did was I'm taking this corner and I'm kind of folding it and bringing it down, but bringing this fold that this creates up to meet the zipper teeth. So it looks like this. Okay, I hope that helps. But I'm going to clip this together for now, and you could sew this down if you wanted. You could use a lighter and singe the edge and melt them together, but I don't know why, but that doesn't work for me. So I'm just gonna wait until I get to the machine and sew it down. So again, I'm just gonna take the corner and I'm just gonna pull it down so that it creates a fold. Yeah, pulling it down so it creates that fold, and bringing that fold to meet the zipper teeth, like that. I want to make sure that they're matching as much as possible. And it's a little off, so let me see if I can fix that real quick. That sound you hear is my dog. She's always here, sleeping and snoring really loud. Hold on, I can't get this to match the zipper tape. There we go. I think there we go. That looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this down and sew this when I get to the machine. Okay, so this is what I have right now. That's what it looks like. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and grab your panels, both of your exterior panels, and you want to grab a ruler. Probably want to grab some double-sided tape. This is 1/8 inch wide from Weft and Warp Co. Not really sure what happened to it, but yeah, there's that. Okay, so we are going to make a 3/4 inch mark on the left side of our front panel. And then we're going to make a 3/4 inch mark on the right side of our back panel. And then what you're going to do is go ahead and place your double-sided tape right along that edge to meet. So I would do it from this line that we made and all the way down to the edge on both of these. Okay, so I sewed down my edges here. Okay, do you see that? At the very edge here. So it looks pretty good. So now we're going to go ahead and place this right sides down right along the zipper, or right along the top edge of the front panel. And you want to line up this edge of your zipper teeth with the line that you drew earlier. You can use clips instead of double-sided tape if you prefer. Whatever's easiest for you. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and lay one of your linings on top of the zipper so that they are right sides together. You just need to decide which lining you'd like to be on the other side of your front exterior. And I think I would much rather have the slip pocket be on this side in case the phone is here. So I'm going to take this lining panel with the zip pocket and lie this right sides down. And what you're going to do is just line up your edges so the zipper is sandwiched between the exterior and the linings. Again, these should be right sides together. And I'm going to go ahead and clip this together at the top. Now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to stitch this down at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, okay, from end to end. So I forgot to mention a couple of things. There is a slight curve to the top, so be mindful of that. Just be careful when you're stitching that, and then also make sure that you move that zipper pull out of the way when you're sewing, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our lining and we're going to stitch along the seam on the lining side right now. And we're going to do, it says to do less than 1/8 of an inch, so just right along this edge here, and make sure that you kind of tug just a little bit just because you have this small curve here. You want to keep the exterior out of the seam, okay? So only along the seam of your lining panel. So let's go ahead to the machine and do that. Okay, so I have sewn that lining down on the seam here. I am just going to place this to the side for a moment and bring over your other exterior panel and remove the paper if you're using double-sided tape. And we're going to repeat the steps for the other side. So you want to have your exterior panel right side up, and then you'll have your zipper you'll have your zipper right side down. So this should be, your panels should be right sides together, and you want to have your edge of the zipper be lined up with the line that you made. And go ahead and line that up at the top. I'm going to open up this real quick. This is probably going to be easier. I'm going to clip the edge together so that my zipper pull doesn't go anywhere. This side might be a little more challenging because you have your D-rings, but don't worry. Just make sure they are down and not up in the way. Make sure when you are sewing that you don't accidentally hit these. So make sure they're out of the way. Okay. This looks kind of funny, I know, but don't worry. So now you're going to take your lining and you're going to lay this right sides down, okay? So it should be your linings are right sides together. And I'm going to clip the top edges here. Okay, I'm moving this out of the way. I'm going to go into the machine and I'm going to sew this down at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, just like we did on the other one. Make sure, again, everything is out of the way so we don't hit anything, okay? Okay, so the lining is now sewn down and we're going to do the same thing that we did to the other side. So you want to go ahead and flatten this out and then go ahead and sew less than 1/8 of an inch down here and slightly pull because of that slight curve, okay? Less than 1/8 of an inch here. Okay, so that is top stitch, less than 1/8 of an inch away from that edge with the seam behind it, just like the other one. Okay, you'll want to make sure to leave your zipper long. And now we're going to place our exterior. I'm going to place the zipper in the middle here so it's out of the way. And we're going to place our exteriors right sides together. I'm going to go ahead and clip the bottom. We're going to sew the bottom together at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. All right, so we're going to go to the machine and sew at 3/8 inch seam allowance on that bottom edge. Okay, so now we've stitched our 2 exteriors together at the bottom at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. What we're going to do now is we're going to pull the zipper apart and we're going to butterfly this open. So what we're going to do is we're going to press these seams open and then we are going to top stitch on each side of this seam at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And what I'm going to do at the machine is I'm just going to open the seams and just guide this open as I stitch this down. Okay, 1/8 of an inch on each side of the seam. Okay, so we have top stitched those seams at the bottom. That looks pretty good. I love the rainbow with that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to place our exterior together and our lining together. And you want to match the seams on the side where you don't have the zipper overhang, okay? So the zipper overhang should be on the opposite side that you're working on at the moment. And you want to match up your seams, okay? So go ahead and match those up first and then clip the edges. It's really important to try your best to match your seams up as best as you can. If you're a little off, it'll be okay. Honestly, mine is always a little off and it's fine. It doesn't, nobody would really notice. I mean, you'll notice because you did it, but unless you're a bag maker, they would notice. But you know what I'm saying. If you make it for someone, they're not gonna examine your bag and say anything about that. They're not gonna notice it, so don't worry. So you're gonna go ahead and clip your edges all the way down to the bottom on your exterior and also on your lining. I love the way she has designed the lining. This makes it to where you don't have a saggy lining, and nobody likes a saggy lining, so this will fit nice and snug in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew the clipped edge only. We're going to sew this at a 3/8 inch seam allowance, okay? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to open this so that they are wrong sides together now. We want to open these seams down here. You can use double-sided tape if it's easier for you. But this is just to reduce some bulk here. I'm sorry, this right here, you want to open this up butterfly that open. You can, depending on your material, it might be best to use double-sided tape. I'll probably end up doing that. I'm going to open this up here. Smooth that out. My seams are kind of thick, but my machine can handle that. I'm on an industrial machine, so I know, you can see I'm a little off here. That's okay. We're going to smooth this out. All right, we're going to place these wrong sides together. It's going to be kind of weird. You're going to have the exterior like this. It's fine. So what we're going to do is you want to smooth everything down around that around the zipper edge here. We're going to top stitch this down. Okay, we are going to make marks on the right side and the left side of your exterior here. It's going to be 3/4 of an inch from each side. And what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance from the line you just made all the way through the other line you just made. And you will be sewing through all of your layers. So make sure that everything is out of the way. Your hardware zipper should be off because it should be open. So just be careful around the seam right here because it is, for me, a little bulky, just depending on what you've used. Just be mindful of that. All right, let's go to the machine and top stitch that down. Okay, so now we have done that, you want to go ahead and get your zipper pull back on. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the zipper pull. Okay, make sure that when you line up your zipper pull that it is on there straight, as straight as you can get it, so it's not wonky. You should still have this extended part of your zipper. So now we're going to go ahead and turn the bag inside out. Your exterior front and back should be right sides together. Okay, yeah, so go ahead and pull this so that our exterior and our lining is right sides together. Okay. We're going to fold the zipper tape in half, wrong sides together, so it'll look like this. So take your zipper and fold it in half, wrong sides together. And we're going to clip this together, okay? We're going to clip that. I'm going to use a couple of clips. So it should look like this, okay? Do you see that? Okay, fold it in half. I'm going to clip my lining together. So they should be right sides together. So clip this side here. We're almost done. What we're going to do is we're going to start from the bottom, okay, and we're going to sew up at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. You're going to go all the way up, and once you get to the zipper here, you're going to sew on the zipper tape. You don't want to go across the zipper tape, the zipper teeth at all. You just want to make sure you come and get as close as you can to the zipper teeth without going across the zipper teeth and then back stitch here, okay? Make sure this stays straight as well as you are sewing this, okay? So now we've done the lining side. You want to do the same thing that you did on the exterior side. So clip it together, matching your seams and keeping your zipper straight. You want to start at the bottom at a 3/8 inch seam allowance and come up. And you want to come as close as you can to the zipper teeth, but don't go over them. Okay, so we've sewn our exteriors together right up to meet the zipper teeth and not over them. Same thing with the lining side. Okay, so now we're going to go and we're going to sew the bottom. And what we're going to do is you want to leave as big as a gap as you can. So just sew the bottom and leave as big as you can of an opening. Now, if you're doing something like cotton, you probably don't need it as big, but the bigger the better, but we also don't want to tear our stitches. We're going to be sewing this at 3/8 inch seam allowance at the bottom. Okay, so that's done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to box the corners. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in. I'm going to do my exterior first. So open up that zipper if it's not open already. And I like to widen the bag. This makes it easier to box. It's totally up to you on whether you want to butterfly those seams or if you want to nest them. I personally am going to nest my exterior because I'm going to butterfly the exterior because that's what we've done at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and butterfly down here and match up those middle seams here. And again, tugging gently at this to widen this up will make it easier to box the corners. Go ahead and clip this here. Now I like to also clip down the sides here to keep this as open as possible. Like so. Right, now do the same thing for the other side. Reach your hand in there if you need to. Widen this, get this open a little bit. Match up those seams as best as you can. Open them up. That looks pretty good, so go ahead and clip that together. Okay, so my exterior is boxed and they're ready to be sewn together. So I'm going to go ahead and do my lining as well. I want to go ahead and sew all 4 of my box corners at the same time. Your lining should be a little bit easier. Again, totally up to you if you want to nest these or if you want to open them up. Looks like they're gonna nest. That's how they're folding here. So I'm gonna go ahead and nest these. And clip it here, and I'm going to clip the sides just like I did on the exterior to keep that open. The wider you can get it, the better your box corner is going to be. And you want to make sure that you nest this side because you nested this side, and you want it going in the same direction. So because my bottom seam here is laying towards the right, I'm going to make sure that this is going towards the right. We are going to sew our box corners at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. If it's easier for you to make a mark, go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to the machine and sew my corners. Okay, so I am going to trim my lining just a smidgen, not a lot, just a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to gently pull our bag through the gap in our lining here. So carefully pull this through, and depending on your material, it could be really hard or it could be pretty easy. So just be careful. That looks pretty good. That's like right on it. I'm gonna be honest, that never really happens for me. I'm gonna take it. I forgot to mention too, when I did the box corners on the exterior side, I did do an extra row of stitching right beside the first line of stitching just to give it some extra stability in the stitches to relieve some pressure. All right. Go ahead and push your lining in, make sure everything fits nicely before you close up your lining. And then you want to This is what it should look like. So it looks kind of like a V-shaped here. That looks so good. I love the rainbow stitches with the green. I think I said that already, but it's just so pretty. I think it's called Groovy. It's from Wizardry Stitchery. All right, so go ahead and pull out your lining, and we're gonna close this up. So I like to make sure that I have my corners poked out, and then I'm going to fold in, oops, my lining, and then we're going to stitch those down at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, so I've got my bottom here clipped together. I'm going to go sew that down at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, I've got my lining sewn, the lining hole closed now, so go ahead and insert the lining back into your exterior. Make sure you poke out the corners here so that it fits nicely. The next thing you'll need to do is to make your crossbody strap if you haven't done that, and the instructions, and you'll just follow along with the instructions, because I pre-made a strap. All I need to do is add the rivets to it. But yeah, if you're gonna make a strap, you wanna go ahead and follow the instructions. But yeah, here it is. That looks really good. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please make sure to like and subscribe and share if you'd like. Make sure to follow along with all the other amazing sewists who are joining us today in the Marathon Society. And again, thank you so much to Jill from KiteCo Creates for allowing us to use your pattern on our channels today for the marathon. It was such a fun make. I really enjoyed it. I love this pocket. This is a really fun pocket. I love how this turned out. Again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye, guys.